to do with our weekends, what to do. The NFL season has concluded as the Super Bowl last weekend put an end to that. No more football until the fall, but we do have some NBA, NHL, college hoops, even a major in the Australian Open for tennis going on down under. But we do have some football news, at least in the world of sports betting, Brett. You may have seen that there was a streaker at the Super Bowl. Well, that man did that because he found a sports betting line at plus 750 that there was going to be a streaker. Found out it was only going to cost him $1,000 to get himself out of jail after being caught. So he put $50,000 down, bet on himself, and he made $374,000. Not a bad return from your Super Bowl bets.
Yeah, I don't know, Higgins. I'm kind of with our guy Bob Menery on this. I'm not sure that we gonna fully believe this story. I'd like to see some proof. I haven't seen the proof. I've seen the story, so I'm gonna say my toes in the water on this one. I'm interested, but I'm not full on believing it.
Show us the ticket or it didn't happen, basically, is what you're saying.
Yeah,
Okay.
pictures or it didn't happen. Exactly. The old frat motto there.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. Let's take a look at how we did in episode 115 real quick, Brett. I keep falling lower and lower. My Flyers bet that got postponed because of coronavirus concerns, so I ended up going 1 for 3. That Flyers bet could have really helped me, though. It was a plus 197 puck line. That would have helped bring me back to nearly even for that episode. But overall in 2021, I am 27, 41, and 2, and I'm down just over 10.5 units.
Yeah, it's such a bummer when these games get postponed, Higgins. I've been there with you, so I feel that.
Yeah, my pick of the pod not doing great either. 2 for 10. I told you that the Kings, they had won 8 straight, covered 8 straight, so they were the smart play. I'm the kiss of death, I guess, because they did not cover. That streak came to an end.
Well, I had a little bit better luck, I guess. I went 2-1. The Warriors bounced back strong in their second game against the Spurs, Higgins. Trailblazers looked really good against the Sixers in that one. So, our Levy lock, our pick of the pod, still cold as ever though. Don't worry, it keeps me honest at least in this episode. 2-1 in this one. So we look to bounce back strong here in 116.
Hey, if you're going to be something in sports betting, at least be consistent. We may not be winning, but hopefully some of our listeners are smart. They've caught on to our losing and they're fading us, and hopefully we're at least making some winners like that. Because, like our Beginner's Boulevard term is, Brett, we want everyone to have a good return on investment, a good ROI, if you will. It's a performance measure used to evaluate the efficiency of an investment. Now, this isn't just a sports betting term either. This is very commonly used in the business world to figure out how good of an investment am I making? What is my return?
Yeah, you definitely want a positive ROI, Higgins. And the best ROI that you mentioned right now is fading our picks of the pods, our Levy locks. That is the way to do it.
I am 2-10 on my pick of the pod. You're 4-8 on your Levy lock, so odds are right now that it's better to bet against us than with us on our pick of the pods and Levy locks, but you'll have to find out what that pick is at the end of our episode, because we're going to talk about some NBA and some college hoops real quick. A busy night on Thursday in the NBA. Not a lot of lines out on Wednesday night as we are recording this, though, Brett. We got a couple games, though. We got Pacers, Pistons. We got Sixers, Blazers. Two decent matchups.
Yeah, some decent matchups. Again, there were tons of games Sunday, tons of games on Monday. So you're down to have some of these nights where there are a few less games, and that's simply because these guys need rest, Higgins. They're humans too. Although sometimes I'm questioning if LeBron's really human.
A lot of people question whether or not LeBron's really human.
Maybe some pictures or it didn't happen there either, Higgins. LeBron, are you human?
I mean, there is a Space Jam movie coming out with his name on. Is he one of the Monstars?
Ooh, that would be a good little flip of the script there.
Well, as in terms of the NBA games that are going on Thursday night, I like the Pacers Pistons game, Brett, and we've talked about this Detroit Pistons team a few times. How they're 6-18 on the year. They've underperformed, but they've got a solid group of guys around them that they're not losing by a lot. So they're actually still covering against the spread a fair amount. Typically, that's because those spreads are double digits, close to double digits, though, so they have a lot of room to work with. But they're 13-10 against the spread, so they've been doing pretty well. This line for the Pacers, though, at only -3, only 3-point favorites, I think that the Pacers should be able to cover that with relative ease in this scenario. I mean, it's a close win. It's a single possession game, maybe a two possession game if you're talking about 2-pointers instead of threes. But the Pacers, they're not awful against the spread. They're 11-13, so they're right around 500 with it. And a 3-point spread just doesn't seem like enough for the Pistons to be able to cover here because they basically would have to also win or have it come right down to the very end and barely lose.
Yeah, I think you raise a lot of good points there, Higgins. Part of the reason I'm staying off this game is because it is a back to back for the Pacers, but the Pacers are currently down 20 points as the start of the fourth quarter starts here. So I'm going to watch this one a little bit, Higgins, and see what happens here. See if the Pacers start resting some people, because one of my favorite things to do, in all honesty, is to actually bet against teams that have to fly home and the other team is waiting for them, right? So, like, Detroit may have been home since about 2 o'clock today, but with the score the way it is, Higgins, as the fourth quarter starts in this one, Indiana -3 traveling to Indy or traveling to Detroit overnight while Detroit's home and in bed. They could definitely pull that one out.
That's definitely a very good point to make there. Back to backs can be very tough, especially for a traveling road team. That is true. That is true. Let's take a look at the college basketball circuit, though, Brett, because although there is that Sixers Blazers game, I'm not sure really what side I really like on that one, so we're going to move on from the NBA. In college basketball, though, Brett, we had a lot more lines to choose from. I mean, specifically the Pac 12's big day on Thursday.
Yeah, Pac-12's playing a lot of games, Higgins. Colorado, Stanford, Utah, Cal with an early tip. Not the earliest tip in Power 5, though. Number 24, Purdue, takes on Minnesota at 5 p.m. Eastern. So if you want to bet on that one, make sure you get your bets in early.
Absolutely get those bets in early. I'm going to take a game that's more suited for the Pacific time zone. Oregon, Arizona State doesn't tip off until 6 p.m. Pacific time, so that's 9 p.m. for the East Coast guys like you, Brett. And you know what? I like Oregon here. Oregon has struggled a little bit this season. They haven't really quite met up to their expectations. But Arizona State really hasn't met their expectations, and they are an abysmal 3-11 against the spread this year. So the Ducks, 2-point favorites on the road against a Sun Devils team that has really been lackluster and has underperformed. I like the Ducks on the road here. Give me those slight favorites.
Yeah, Arizona State's been a huge disappointment, like you said, Higgins. I was leaning Oregon as well, but you know what? I was like, I'd kill Oregon. I'd kill all the betters on Oregon if I was on it with Higgins. So I'll just stay away and bet on two other Pac-12 games because, like you said, Higgins, and like I said already, there's tons of games in the Pac-12. I'll bet on some ranked action. How about number 20 USC traveling to my favorite auto fade in the Pac 12? And it kills me to say that because I'm a big Coach Hop fan. At Washington, they've just been terrible this year. So I'll take USC on the road. I'll take the Mobley brothers -12.5 at Washington, Higgins.
That was a line that I looked at as well. 12.5 was a little too big for me, plus I saw you were already on it, so I decided to not think about it too much more and just stay away. But you're right, Washington has kind of been an auto fade for much of this year. They're 2-10 in conference play, 3-14 overall on the season, so For them to cover, it's going to take some effort because they're losing and losing by a lot.
Yeah, it's been a tough year for Washington. I think Hop and his staff can bounce back and get it right. Just chalk it up. It's part of the COVID year and all that, but we'll see what happens here. There's another game going on in Washington as well tomorrow night, Higgins. Washington State hosts UCLA. UCLA's fallen a little bit recently, Higgins. The Stanford loss and the USC loss coming in some postponed games, in between some postponed games between Oregon there. But I think UCLA gets back to what they've looked like for most of the year. Again, this is a 13-4 team, Higgins. So I think this team wants to figure it out. They want to get strong coming into February here and close out February, go into March, and get ready for the tournament.
So you like a UCLA with the points?
Yeah, UCLA with the points, -5.5. I get that they're the road team, Higgins, but I'm going to take them -5.
Okay. USC and UCLA are currently atop the Pac 12. Brett seems to think that they're going to stay tied atop the Pac 12 through Thursday night. If that doesn't happen, though, I mean, Colorado's only one game back of those two. They're facing off against Stanford with their own opportunity to try to cut that to maybe a half game lead. Who knows?
Maybe. I'm actually on one more game, Higgins. If you don't mind bearing with me for one more second here,
No
I'm
worries.
going to be on Iowa State and Kansas. Kansas looking to make the most of this year. It's been a tough year for them. It looks like it's Baylor's Big 12, but Kansas looking to close this one out strong here in the Big 12 and 14.5 point favorites against Iowa State. I'm just fading Iowa State in this one. I know it's a big number. Similar situation though to Washington. Just bet against Iowa State. So Kansas -14.5. That's the play for me in the Big 12.
All right, I really don't have a feel for that game, so I'm going to trust you there, but I'm going to stay away for the sake of the Pillars.
All right, thank you.
Let's jump into some Moneyline Magic, Brett. Interesting game on Tuesday night between the Knicks and the Heat, and this was the debut for Derrick Rose coming back to New York. I mean, they were playing in Miami, but he was coming back to the Knicks team that he had played with after leaving Chicago. And things were interesting. I mean, Derrick Rose put up a good effort for his Knicks team, and it was close down the stretch.
Yeah, it was really close down the stretch. Actually, the Knicks led in this one from a large portion of the second half, Higgins. And to start the fourth, they were up 82-76, but this is Moneyline Magic, so you know it's going to get close here in the fourth quarter. Tyler Harrow, with 5 minutes left in the game, would tie this one up at 88 apiece. But Higgins, no one would score for a little bit over a minute here, about a minute 20 seconds, not the full minute 30. Otherwise, I would have pointed that out. But Jimmy Butler finally gets a free throw to go. He actually makes both of them with 3:50 remaining and gives the Heat a 2-point lead.
And this game was really back and forth in that fourth quarter as that line kind of stayed right around 2, 3 points and teams kept fighting back and forth. Elfrid Payton would drive and miss a layup, get a rebound, and he'd go back up with it. Bam Adebayo gets called for a goaltending, though, and the game is tied 94-94 with a minute 50 left. And then, you already mentioned him, Tyler Harrow. He comes off of a bit of a screen, comes up on a hook, gets an assist from Jimmy Butler, drains a three. 97-94, the Heat take the lead finally.
Yeah, that was big. And, Tyler Harrow, big player in this one, Higgins. You mentioned it. This game was back and forth down the stretch. And, there would be some big substitutions for both coaches down the stretch in this one. Quickly would end up coming in for Elfrid Payton, another player we mentioned in this Moneyline Magic once or twice. So Quickly comes in and he makes his patented floater, Higgins, to
It's a pretty
cut things.
shot.
Yeah, it is pretty. And he cuts the lead to one, but that's as close as they'd get, unfortunately, because Jimmy Butler would only actually make one of his free throws to push the lead 98-96. But unfortunately, uh, the Knicks couldn't close out any of their possessions. The Heat's defense closes out the game here, Higgins. And that's all you can really say.
Yeah, I want to back it up a little bit after quickly made that floater, Brett. That was the last field goal that was made in the game with about 30 seconds left, and there were a few different possessions that had taken place, actually. About 10 seconds left, the Knicks had the ball back again. They tried to make a baseline fadeaway jumper, missed it. Going for the rebound turned into just absolute chaos. That's when Jimmy Butler got thrown to the ground rather hard. Ends up going to the line because of it, made that free throw that you mentioned that gives them the 98-96 win. But Butler wasn't shaken by that hard foul that he took because he had to guard RJ Barrett on the final drive of the game. Barrett tries taking it right up the middle for a layup, and Jimmy Butler was just right on his hip the entire time, challenged the layup. It was clean, could not get the layup to fall, and RJ Barrett and the Knicks came up just short of forcing overtime. It was a fantastic ending to that game.
Yeah, you know what, Higgins? I actually really appreciate you shouting out the defense a little extra bit there because not enough people do. And you know what? Jimmy Butler, he's a fantastic two-way player in this league. Probably doesn't get enough credit because they're probably two I'd rank ahead of him in LeBron James and Kawhi Leonard. Probably playing in a slightly bigger market in LA. They get talked about a little bit more on all the TV networks, but you're right, Higgins. He played really well in this one and deserved that extra shout out there.
A guy that's been battling some injury too, and he's been coming off, coming back on. So to take a hard foul like that, still be able to finish out the game, get that game-winning free throw to help seal it. Fantastic job by Jimmy Butler. Got to shout out the defense because you know we criticize bad defense a lot. You got to give the shout out to the good defense.
Yeah, and you want to talk about good defense, Higgins? This game, 98-96. I think that's incredible defense for what year are we in? 2021? I had to double check myself. I almost said 2020. We don't want to go back to that.
No, we do not. No, we do not want to go back to that. Absolutely not. Let's get into our ad, though. A new year brings a new beginning for 2021. For all my listeners that own a business, I want to tell you about FedEx Office. If you are just starting or have been running your country for generations, FedEx Office gives you the best way to print marketing materials, posters, signage, graphics, and so much more. With FedEx, creating, editing, saving, and ordering are fast and easy. We are teaming up with FedEx and Podgo to bring our listeners 30% off your next order of $100 or more at podgo.co/FedEx. That's podgo.co/FedEx for 30% off your next order. FedEx, the world on time. Now, Brett, let's just jump right into some NHL right now because Thursday night we have a lot of lines to look through in this NHL ticket.
Tons of lines, Higgins. Uh, where do you want to start?
I'll start with the game that I'm not on, but the line intrigues me. The Penguins versus Islanders. On the money line, at least in Oregon, that's the line that we're looking at, is the one from Oregon. Pittsburgh on the money line is the slight favorite at minus 115, but they're the underdog on the puck line, being given 1.5 goals with a minus 309 line. That's huge.
That is a huge line, Higgins. And this game is a game as itself is a really good one. So of course I want to be on this one, Higgins. So I had to find a little action, and I'm going to take the over 5.5. I think these teams are scoring at a pretty good pace. They went over in their last game, so sure, I'll take the over 5.5 in this one, just because I think it's going to be fun, and I'm going to be tuning in and out with the NBA, with the college hoops that I'm on. So to get myself to maybe spend a little extra time watching it, I'll take the over.
Yeah, we had 9 NHL games out, Brett. A few of them are at this 5.5 over underline that I've mentioned a few times. I like a 5.5 over underline. I think it's a good opportunity for an over. I'm staying away from over unders on this episode. I'm going with a couple different NHL picks instead. But I like your play of over 5.5. It just both of those offenses are plenty talented enough. It's just are the goalies having a good night?
Yeah, exactly, Higgins. But you're on a game that honestly a lot of people should be watching in Florida, Higgins.
Yes, when you think of hockey, you don't typically think of Florida. However, you might want to start thinking of Florida because, well, one, Tampa Bay Lightnings, they're the reigning champs. They are facing off against the Florida Panthers, who have had a phenomenal start to their season as well. The Lightning are 9-1-1 on the season. Florida Panthers 7-1-2 on the season. This is going to be a very interesting game. I like the Lightning on the puck line, though. They are 1.5 goal favorites at plus 145, and while there's a chance that this game is close because of how well these teams have played so far, I'm looking at the Lightning's recent win streak that they've been on. They've won 5 straight, and those last 4 games, they won by multiple goals. Actually, all last of the 5 games they've won by multiple goals. It's the 6th game of their 6 game winning streak that was a single goal win. So the Lightning have won their last 5 games by at least 2 goals. Florida, they've forced a few games to go to overtime. Their games are more grind out win type scenarios, so I think the Lightning handle it a little easy. Where I'm concerned, though, Brett, is between the Lightning and the Panthers. 3 of the 4 goalies that these teams have listed have a goal against average under 2. Only one of them, Sergei Bobrovsky, has over a 3 goal average per game. So, potential for a 2-0 game?
Wow, definitely that potential is up there. But that is an interesting stat, Higgins. Wow, all of those goalies except for Bobrovsky averaging under 2 goals against. That's crazy.
Yeah, Vasilevsky's averaging 1.8. That's through 10 different games. McKelney for the Lightning, he's only played in 1 game. He only allowed 1 goal, though. And then Dreiger is averaging 1.97 goals against himself. So I like the Lightning. I like the Lightning on the puck line. Just something to be aware about that both of these teams that have had hot starts, their goalies have played pretty well for them early on. So just something to keep in mind. If you don't want to take the -1.5, the money line for Tampa Bay is -170. I don't think that's an awful value.
Okay, and if you come over to the Brett Levy Sportsbook, Higgins, we have a fun prop on this one. Because this game is taking place in Florida, we are setting the over/under on masks being worn in the arena at 2.5. Both goalies will have a mask on. Will anyone else?
Will anyone else?
Come on
I'll
over to the Levy Sportsbook.
I'll take the over.
Okay, cool.
I'll take the over.
Sounds good. We got some action. I don't know if we have any other takers, but I'm glad we got you.
All right. Well, maybe some people could tweet at us and let us know what they like on the Brett Levy Sportsbook.
Well, another game caught my interest, Higgins, off the Brett Levy Sportsbook on the Oregon Sportsbook with you.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but Nashville is being listed -1.5 favorites versus uh, Detroit on the puck line here, Higgins, at only plus 135. So I'm going to hop on that before everyone else does and get that in with you before we hang up here. But I like that because Detroit is 1-6-1 on the road. They're just a bad team. They're probably the favorites to get the #1 pick and win that lottery. But Nashville at home, 4-3. So I'll take Nashville at home in this one.
Yeah, I said it when the NHL season opened that Detroit has to prove it to me before I'd ever consider betting on them so far this season. And they haven't proved it to me. So while I'm not on that game, the only spot I would be on would be Nashville. So I think you got the smart play there.
There we go. Thank you.
And then the last game of the night that I'm going to be on, Brett, is up north in Canada. The Ottawa Senators are traveling to Winnipeg to face off against not your Jets, but the other Jets. And
They're all my Jets.
and the Senators are arguably just as bad as Detroit, thereabouts. They're 2-11-1 on the season, 1-6 on the road, whereas the Jets, they're 7-4-1 on the season, 5-2-1 at home. I could take the Jets on the puck line, but you know what? I'm going to be safe because that puck line's only a plus 122 return. I'm going to play it safe and go with the minus 200 money line.
I respect that,
There
Higgins.
may be a reason for that a little bit later that you might learn of, but I'm going safe with the minus 200 money line.
Okay, fair enough on the later reasons, but I respect the safe play. I'll always respect the safe play. There's nothing wrong with even at minus 200. There's just nothing wrong with adding to your bank account.
Absolutely. It's always nice to get some wins, try to help buffer up that units on the year. I mean, both of us are in the negatives right now, so trying to make some smarter plays, some plays
Any
that I typically don't make because I don't like the return. Minus 200 is typically too low for me, but this time around I'm trying to just play it smart and not necessarily worry about the return as much.
Yeah, we just need any wins we can take, you and I.
Absolutely. Any other of these NHL games that interest you, Brett? I mean, there's a few other 5.5 point lines, like with the Sharks and the Kings, the Hurricanes and the Stars. Your Red Wings Predators games also had a 5.5 over underline. A few of these games have it.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest, Higgins. I'm staying away after that Rangers overtime loss. I had to hop into some hockey, so I found two games. One that was of interest to me, because it's my division. Because Crosby and the Islanders is always gonna be some fun, and it's gonna be easy for me to find on TV as well. So I hopped on that one. And then I saw that you weren't betting against the Red Wings, so I took that opportunity to bet against the Red Wings. So, I mean, really, they were kind of just easy plays for me here in New York, but I don't really have too many reads on the hockey slate, to be quite honest.
I may find myself on the late games of the Flames Canucks or the Ducks Golden Knights, depending on how my games go, but I don't have a pick on that right now. Maybe depending on how my Australian Open picks go, I may find myself on those afterwards because I do like some of the Thursday afternoon on the Pacific Coast. It would be a 7 p.m. Start time for you, Brett. Men's and women's matches, there's some interesting ones on Thursday as they're ramping up into some of these actual heated matchups between ranked opponents now. I believe they're in the third round. And I like, in the men's matchup at least, Dominic Thiem versus Nick Kyrgios. Now, we all know Nick Kyrgios because he has a big personality. We all know of Thiem because he's been rather successful recently and stormed onto the scene. He's a top 5 player in the world right now. I think Kyrgios is going to get the better hand of him. Kyrgios is from Australia, one, so he's got a little bit of a home nation advantage in a sense, a home court advantage. And these two have only played against each other once, and that was in 2015. Both of them have grown a lot as a player since then. Kyrgios likes to get in his opponent's head a lot as well. He does some funny little antics, makes it about more than just the match. At plus 340 for two premier up-and-coming tennis players that are still getting better as they get older, there's that mystery that they haven't played in over 5 years. So I'm going to go with that mystery, take the underdog at plus 340 because I think it's some fantastic value right there. And he absolutely could win, even though he did struggle in his last matchup.
Yeah, that's what scares me, Higgins, is the huge comeback in the last matchup, the 5 sets that Kyrgios had to play just to get here for this matchup with Team. So, I mean, I'm not going to say that anything isn't possible because on any given night, anything can happen, especially when you're kind of the home favorite, you would think. So I think you're making a fair play there, Higgins.
Yeah, I mean, he did have a rough match, a 5-set match, where his team had a 3-set sweep in a sense. So that is important to take a look at. But that's not the only match that I'm going to be on. I'm also going to be on a women's match that's going to tip off at about the same time. Uh, Now there is Serena Williams playing, but there's not a lot of value there at minus 1100. There is Naomi Osaka playing at minus 700. Not a lot of value again. Even if you pair those together in a parlay, it's still at about minus 400. Wasn't really a lot of value to pair those two up together. So instead of making a long drawn out parlay, which you can do with some of these. I mean, Djokovic also plays on Thursday. Nadal plays early Thursday. He'd have played by the time you're listening to this, but he would have been available for a potential parlay. Instead of making a 5-6 legger, I'm just going to take one matchup that it raises questions to me because I think that the line is closer than it should be, and that's between Veronika Kudermetova versus Simona Halep. Now, Halep is a well-known name. Kudermetova is an up-and-coming player, young player, but Halep has some history at the Australian Open. I mean, last year she was a semifinalist. 2 years before that, in 2018, she made it to the finals. She's made it to the quarterfinals twice. So they're playing in the round of 64, I believe, right now. And so having her play at those larger stages and making it farther in this major tournament compared to Kudermetova, who has been knocked out in the round of 128 both of the past 2 years, this is about time when she exits the Australian Open. Halep has been past this before. It's not too big of a moment for her, so at minus 230, I'm going to take that similar to what I'm doing with the Jets of the line may be a little higher than I'm used to taking a favorite on, but I'm just taking what makes sense.
Yeah, and I mean, you mentioned it compared to the other notable players going on the women's side on Thursday night. Simona Halep is really the best value on the board. Higgins at minus 230. So why not play that side? You mentioned the other person's name and you did a fantastic job saying it. I'm not going to take that risk because you were so good. If you stumbled a little bit, I absolutely would have jumped at the opportunity. But no way after how well you pronounced it. So I'm only gonna say Simona Halep in that one, but I'll let you give the other girl another shout out at plus 170.
All right, and there is a quick correction I need to make. I was saying it was the round of 64. They're actually on the round of 32 right now, both the men's and the women's. So, like I said, Kudermetova, she's been knocked out in the round of 128
Hey,
each of
there
the
you
past
go.
2 years. So, round of 32, she's improved quite a bit, making it 2 rounds further. Let's see if this is her exit, though. I think Halep has it. I think Kyrgios is going to surprise some people and get a solid win here. And with him having that home court advantage of being an Australian, I think that gives a nice little edge to a plus 340 underdog.
Tell you what, Higgins. No one has the privilege really of seeing our rundown. I don't know if you're gonna put up all the odds for Williams and Osaka, but they're playing some tough names to pronounce too that I wouldn't want to try and attempt to pronounce either. So we did a good job. You did a great job pronouncing Halep's opponent's name. So I'm just gonna jump right ahead into the Levy Lock and POP before we screw up any names.
That sounds like a grand plan. That sounds grand.
I'll take the I guess if you want to call them honors, I'll take the dive first. I'm gonna take USC. Washington, fading Washington was my last win in the Levy lock, so fade Washington. USC minus 12 and a half.
There we go. So fade Washington. That's the play for Brett. And then, like I hinted at a little earlier in the NHL, the Jets minus 200 on the money line. I mean, it's the common sense play. Ottawa, just like the Detroit Red Wings, you have to prove it to me before I stop betting against you. They're 2-11 on the season, 1-6 on the road compared to the Jets, who are 7-4-1 on the season, 5-2-1 at home. Jets money line. It's that simple.
I like it.
All right. Well, there we have it. Pick of the pod, Levy Lock, a few other picks, even with some tennis picks going on with the Australian Open. This has been a packed episode 116, I'd say, even without the football that we are so used to having going into a weekend. This has been episode 116 of The Next Best Bet. For Brett Levy, I'm Jake Higgins. As always, we will talk to you again after the weekend.